Guts alike, you're going to be stuck here middling.
All right, our lobby is almost ready, so why don't we just take a look at the map that we're going to be playing on in this matchup. There it is, Cafe Dostoevsky. All right, fair enough. Clubhouse banned by Guts. Jess, the right decision to go to Cafe?
I think for Cyclops, it's hard to tell because the only time they've really played it and won it was against Electrify. How much stock do you put in that, really? And then when they lost, it was against Giants. How much stock do you put in that? All of my reference points, they're all, how much stock do you put in it? So I really can't say how well they're going to play here today on this.
I put down a couple of notes here. My notes actually read 5 words. Giants won. CAG didn't lose. CAG did not play badly the other day. They had a flawless round. They had some really good shows coming out of Suzuki. Incredible jump outs out of them. They played this map well. And even on that basis alone, given the proximity of recency played and how well they played, I think this is probably a CAG game, to be honest.
All right, Jess, Des, why don't we toss it over to our casters that are well and ready. Gio and Dev, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Milosh. Dev, it is our first cast of the day, and it is the Japanese matchup. I'm really stoked. These two teams have known each other for a very long time. We can go back all the way in the history of the Japanese scene, and we will see many times that these teams have come up against one another.
And this is another installment in that epic saga, isn't it, Gio? Another rematch. Last time these guys faced each other, it was in Stage 1 of the APAC North League, and it was a thrilling match where Guts eventually took it. I've got to say, I was actually no. On top of that, they played in the August Major, and Cyclops took that. So it's a bit of back and forth between these teams. The long-term history is that forever Cyclops has been the dominant team in Japan, back-to-back Pro League champions. Guts came in Stage 1 and knocked them off that pedestal, which was a huge surprise. I admit I was a bit disappointed in the Major to see Guts just 2-0. Guts, I thought that, Cyclops 2-0 Guts. I thought that maybe they had a bit more of a fight in them, but we'll see. Des seems convinced it's going to be Cyclops. I'm not so convinced.
Yeah, I mean, you say there's been the constant backwards and forwards. You can look all the way back to Pro League Season 11. Each of them won a game, and one of which was on Cafe Dostoevsky. That went in the favor of Cyclops. So it's a bit far away. It's a bit long ago for it to really be relied upon. It was supposed to be the third map that they played in their game on the August Major, but they didn't make it that far. Are we going to see the same results today? Ban phase is well underway, and we have Maverick, Monty, Valkyrie, and Malusi.
Yeah, no, not all M's today. Valkyrie is throwing a spanner in the works there. But let's touch on some of these operator bans. In particular, the Monty is the usually one that you would want to single out, and Guts, the team to get rid of it in this case. Funnily enough, it was actually banned by Cyclops when they played against Giants, but I don't think people can see that as a surprise. Of course, Giants have Lunar Metal prolific Monty player, but Cyclops actually have their own prolific Shield player, and it is Aniton, a player who we've talked about a lot over the course of APAC North League. Didn't show up so much in Stage 1, but had an absolute crazy major. And then in the last game that Cyclops played on Cafe, which was just earlier against Giants, he actually was the bottom-rated player, really struggled, only found 4 kills across the entire map. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on Aniton. Hopefully we get to see some clash later on. But definitely with that Monty ban, it does take something away from his arsenal. I think that's why Guts decided to go with that ban.
I find it funny because I sent you a message this morning saying, I bet that Guts will ban Monty and Valkyrie. They always ban Monty and Valkyrie against Cyclops. It is just what they do. It's the way that they play.
Well, I think the Valkyrie ban's a good one as well. Gatorada plays a mean Valkyrie. Actually, a lot of good Valkyrie players on Cyclops, and with that ban, it does make it a bit more difficult to play aggressive because you won't necessarily have as much info, but Cyclops, they are the kings of aggression, so I expect we'll see that anyhow. In fact, Suzu going for the Rook, which will not only enable him to have that ACOG to contest the long-range fights, but it'll also give the rest of his team a little bit of a boon in those gunfights. It'll save some damage, about 20% damage reduction there when you've got Rook plates on. So it is an aggressive hold in Piano or Cigar Lounge from Cyclops. A lot of the time we see teams bring a castle and put a castle barricade on that double door into Cigar, but instead Cyclops are doing what I call a budget castle barricade, which is literally just a barricade. And look at that, a shield as well for Suzu here in this dark corner near the minibar. This is something that Guts are going to have to deal with.
I was going to say the same thing. It is literally budget, and open goes the window and the wall as well as the hatch gets open. So now this puts more pressure on Suzuki, and that's where you can see the shield being really important to him, because he can sandwich himself between the minibar and the shield as the EMP gets thrown in.
Does have to be careful of the south window. That's the one position that exposes him, but he takes down Yura. A very early pick here, and that goes to show the ACOG helping out, or I should say the 2X site helping out Suzu in that engagement. Not only is that a player loss for Guts, but also a critical amount of utility flashbangs and explosives, which would be clearing these util.
He's right by Lily as well, but he knows he's being sandwiched in because Light is on the south window too.
Oh, perfect.
And straight away he gets down. So no longer, unless someone can come and deal with him, but I think it's highly unlikely that he's going to be able to be rezzed back up. That's your Rook probably gone.
You can see it. A-Gator so tempted, but it's not going to happen. No way you get over there safely, get revive, and get back. So instead, A-Gator's going to keep contesting the minibar window from his position in Pixel. Meanwhile, we did actually see Gatorada get taken out. I don't quite know exactly where that exchange happened, but Cyclops still very much holding on to this west side control. Black Ray actually playing quite aggressively off of Cigar to support A-Gator, but Guts are very much circling.
You can see as well where Anaton's position is also quite aggressive, because he's right in the middle of bar, which could be a danger for anyone coming in from the hatch. But backwards and forwards as Lily gets a kill. He does actually get traded out as Anaton finishes him off, moving over towards New Hatch. So he can basically watch on anyone who may be right outside that piano wall. It's a 2 versus 2 at this point with 30 seconds remaining. Shu playing very patiently as he narrowly sees a body part of one of the Cyclops players, but the smoke is going to hold him back. That's a nice shot from Anaton onto Light. Now they just need to deal with Shu. They know where he is, and he gets taken straight out. Cyclops take round 1.
2K, 3K for Anaton, not quite sure exactly how many he notched up onto his belt, but a great round from Cyclops. And one of the things I love that we saw from them is, yeah, they're going for a cigar and piano hold. They want to take that that map control, make it really difficult for Guts to establish that beachhead. All they get for free is Red Hatch underneath the Red Hatch. That's the only thing that they get for free. But even when Guts started to take out players, they managed to polish it off into a 2 versus 2. Cyclops kept pushing for it. They're not like, okay, they can have that map control. Let's just play from Cocktail. Let's maybe play for plants and I'll wait for that plant to go down. No, Cyclops kept pushing it. They never forfeited piano, despite losing 3 players. They never forfeited cigar. Every time a player would fall, someone would go to replace. And I think that goes to show how stubborn a team Cyclops are. And I just love that.
Obviously, there are many teams who play at the professional level who would find it too much of a risk to relinquish the control of Cocktail like that, because you oftentimes see, as you said, as the round kind of ticks away, a lot more presence there. You play for the post plot, you make it very difficult for the attacking team, who are most likely to be coming in from the west side, to take the east side of the map. But because of the positions of those players, they made it hard for the west side to be taken in the first place at all. And Anaton is very much thanks for that. The way that he was playing in bar meant that it was virtually impossible to push in through from Red Hatch, because Cigar was just so hard to take, and Piano as well. So Cyclops now coming down to Kitchen. Oh, I'm interested to see if they're going to play very similarly in terms of stubbornly holding on to some part of the map. We saw the way that they're setting up Cigar. They put the shield in there. Cigar, VIP. They've put the shield in there, and they've opened up the rotate into Freezer as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cyclops go for a little bit of a loose roam here and eventually just fall back to that ground floor. It's a strategy a lot of teams adopt, especially as Guts, of course. They want to take map control so that they can utilize the vertical play and take out those players who are playing in the kitchen service and kitchen cooking bomb sites from above, inside mining. So that's why Guts are starting from the roof here, droning their way up. Yura, the first player to make an entry, along with Crazy Papillon. Yura was actually taken out early in that previous round, hasn't really had an impact thus far. I like this from Crazy, starting to already pressure down into train room, opening up that hatch, and the drones ahead in abundance clear out this top floor.
It's obviously really good to be thorough. We've seen a number of teams, even just this week, lose out because they haven't had a thorough roam clear at the top. Yura got taken out very early. in that last round, but present here on the Ash, he's going to be very important on the entry, especially if you are to get rid of some of those defending players quite quickly.
Oh, look at that. That's great from Crazy Papillon. Already dispatched with 2 of those frost traps. Suzu actually 6-picked onto this frost from the smoke, so as to try and catch off Guts in an unexpected situation. Also got the Sniper 90, a Super 90 shotgun. Really not living up to the sniper name these days. More effective in close range, and does make Suzu a very one-dimensional operator, likely to try and play in this position well into the late round and anticipate that drop late into the freezer through that hatch. That's all 3 frost traps dispatched with now, so, well, Suzu, your utility has been nullified, maybe aside from that shield. Let's hope you can have an impact regardless.
They still have the presence down in VIP, so despite the fact that the frost traps have been moved, Guts still have to deal with those players who are going to make it very hard to move in through the freezer direction. They could, of course, in theory, drop straight down through the hatch, but then you run the risk of getting flanked. So this is what Yura's doing now. He just clears out the shield, or attempts to clear out the shield that's present in the VIP doorway, but Gatorada's still situated behind it with Anaton down in Whiskey.
Yeah, it's a good position here for Cyclops. Notable why we see Cyclops put that shield in VIP quite a few steps back from the wall is so that the ADS will catch any potential breaching rounds. That wasn't cleared. EMP does clear out that ADS, and that forces Suzu to move. But he's finished off through the holes above from Crazy Papillon. That's the first kill, but only 20 seconds left.
This vertical play so far from Guts Gaming has done wonders for them, and Shu's just going to go straight in with the plant. This means the Cyclops all have to begin to move in and collapse onto the site, but you can just see kills coming in left, right, and center for Guts Gaming. They knew what they were ready for. Black Ray on a sliver of health. Very little opportunity for him to do much, and Guts taking the attacking round.
Beautiful execute in the dying moments of that round. I know people call it the 20-second meta, but there was literally 20 seconds on the clock when Crazy Papillon got that opening kill. So that was most definitely a 20-second round, as you could say. Of course, the early and mid-round was hyper important for Guts, and that's actually what I want to praise them for. How effective they were at clearing out that map. They had the top floor completely clear within 1 minute. They took down the middle floor and started to engage that vertical play without any delay whatsoever. And a great job from Crazy Papillon opening up those holes. We saw him dispatch with 3 frost mats. Great drones came out into sight. We saw eventually that kill came out through the floor, and a great way to isolate Suzu, who, like I was saying, because he was running the shotgun, can't contest those vertical holes very effectively. So he was just hiding on the bomb. But as soon as they removed his ADS with a Thatcher EMP, he knew he had to move or else suffer the fate of a grenade. So he moved out, and Suzu was watching, Crazy Papillon was watching the rotation. He gets caught out. From that point on, Guts know that they don't have control of VIP, but it's a funny trend we're seeing these days. Lacking control of VIP is actually becoming less impactful on the outcome of the round for the attackers. A lot of attacking teams are deciding it's too hard to clear out VIP. If we can't get it, so be it. Let's just execute down through the hatch and see what we can make of it and make sure that that VIP player can't flank us. In the end of it, Gus managed to get the plant down in a 4 versus 1, and that was a sight to behold.
I think that's why it was so interesting where Anaton was as well, because he was present on Whiskey, ready to support Gatorada when VIP had to be cleared. But in the end, because Guts went straight in for the plant, it was actually much harder for Anaton to even move in on the site and do anything about it, because Guts had already set themselves up to support the plant. Cyclops are definitely going to be wishing that they'd had a more thorough roam that could have prevented Crazy Papillon from getting as much value as he did, but no matter, they can move on. They're coming to their third site. This is going to be Reading, which these days for a lot of teams has become, in many cases, the primary bomb site, but doesn't look like it's clearly that way for Cyclops.
Reading. This is my favorite bomb site on Cafe. I'm not sure who coined the term. I think it might have been Reaper. If you don't know his YouTube channel, he does some great videos. Highly recommend checking it out. But I think he might have coined the term. Maybe I'm giving credit unnecessarily. But Reading in some ways is cocktail bar, so the top floor bomb site with extras. Because you can hold on to cocktail or cigar and piano, as we're seeing from Cyclops, which is just what they did on that top floor site, with extras, because once you lose this control, it's fine, you just drop down to the bomb site. But this vertical control is really imperative because of the way you can deny plants in the bomb site from above. Nonetheless, Guts starting out by trying to take piano control, and Anaton very aggressive here. He's actually getting information from Gatorada on the pulse below, so Gato would be calling out exactly where those players are and giving that info off to Anaton.
It's going to hold back those players as well. There's the next nade. So far, nothing has been caught as far as kills go, but when you're on the rappel and you know that someone's in there watching you, likely has the information, it makes it significantly harder for you to get your job done. And obviously having one of the EMPs eaten up as well didn't help. Gatorada on Pulse, as you say, is going to be truly instrumental because of how you have to hold that top floor. You don't have to hold the top floor, but it's desirable to do so. And in fact, he's going to be moving down to the bottom floor in towards Freezer and Kitchen.
Crazy Papillon's got an aggressive position, but walking into Fireplace would likely mean his death. Just the holes in the wall to his left, but Guts, they seem to be stalled out here. They've decided not to continue pushing that top floor. Gatorada has a perfect position under train right now. He's got a C4 in the pocket. I'm not sure whether he's going to detonate that early. Indeed, he does. Good night. Crazy Papillon gets him back for that opening kill last round.
A really big loss as well there for Guts. We mentioned quite thoroughly how Crazy Papillon was a huge part of the team before.
Nice.
Yura getting his revenge, though, on Gatorada, who they obviously knew was down in Kitchen because he provided the information, he got the C4, so all they had to do was clean him up. But Anaton's going to be cleaning up in his own right as Lily gets taken straight off the board, and Cyclops is still sitting here with a neat advantage as they continue to grab kills. Guts Gaming truly struggling at this point, and there's nothing Shu can do before Cyclops take the round.
Nothing Shu can do, hey? I like that. Well, a dominant round there for Cyclops by the end of it, and I do partly want to put that on Guts. I think that Cyclops have read into Guts' playstyle and are figuring out the best way to counter it. Guts are a really methodical team. They like to do step-by-step, and in particular, I would reference that Kitchen attack in round 2, where they start on the top floor, they had really efficient time management of clearing out that top floor, clearing out the middle floor, getting to work on the floor for the vertical play, and executing those steps. And that's something that Guts are really, really good at, the step-by-step methodical stuff. But your method starts to become madness when there are defenders aggressively holding positions and you're not quite sure how to deal with that. For example, in that particular round, yes, the bomb site was reading, but Cyclops actually had 2 players aggressively holding inside Piano and Cigar. It was Anaton, and I can't remember the second player, I think Ayagator. And on top of that, those 2 players were supported by the Pulse below. So they were actually quite favored in understanding where the players were coming from, which windows they were repelling on, whether they dropped Red Hatch, etc. And that was a situation where Guts are like, look, there's a lot of people here. I think Lily had lost both of his drones quite early on, and a lot of the other Guts players had been struggling with their information. They knew that there were players, but they didn't know how to deal with them, and so they decided, look, let's just abandon any thought of going onto the top floor, just leave that control for Cyclops, and try and execute through train. By which point, it was just all for Cyclops. Guts are really trying to do a desperate push without the control that they need. On top of all that, there's a Roma downstairs, and it's a Pulse with a C4. So I like the way that Cyclops dealt with that, and I like the way that their aggression is really starting to, I think, counter Guts' methodical playstyle.
Cyclops setting up with this new, what has become quite popular setup of having the shield present in bathroom and opening up the wall. They've combined it with the rotate into backstore, which is fairly normal, but we've seen a lot of teams of late actually reinforce that off and bunker down in the room. Now, obviously, the big issue that Guts Gaming had before was taking control of this west side of the building, but they're going to waste no time getting the piano wall open.
This is good, and this is the thing that we praise Guts for, time management. Completing the steps in the method, but when they hit a roadblock, that tends to stall them out. Let's see how they deal with this setup in piano. That's a nice nade. Beautiful stuff. A very early pick, and that is Anaton shut down.
Anaton, who was a huge part of the reason that Guts couldn't push forward when they came to attack this site last time, now brutally wrenched from Cyclops' grasp and from their roster. That could make it so that Guts have a lot more of an opening to be able to take control of this side. Naturally, they still have to worry about Ayagator, who wasn't removed from the pixel angle last time, and he was able to hold on to this area very well. I'm interested in how they've placed the ADSs behind the couch here, because that can also provide the protection for the shield that's in bathroom, and not just the player who's present on pixel, but actually it looks like Ayagator's been forced back somewhat.
Yeah, and that nade gets chewed up as well. I think the EMP came a little bit late. It must have been on the roof there. I think it eventually did disable those ADSs. No, I don't quite know where that EMP detonated, but Lily's all out now, and well, Guts is starting to struggle. Oh my goodness, that ADS is now finally burned, but there's another one. And, well, Yura is running out of utility. He still has one stun grenade left, so he could use that to burn that second ADS, at least half of it. And he'll need someone else's projectile, perhaps one of Ace's smoke grenades to burn the other half. But what is this? An aggressive push in from Crazy Papillon, but he gets crazily shut down by Gatorada behind the shield.
Yeah, the Prisma that was there as well, so maybe he didn't necessarily expect that was going to happen. Either way, those two shields are still standing. You've got no grenades, and you really have to rely on Europe for something like that. Not only that, but you're now missing a player, and you've got 30 seconds left of the round, still unable to clear out Piano. This is a problem that Guts are just continuing to have as they push into Bar. The smokes come out, and Yura's desperately looking for what kills he can get so he can support the team. But Shu gets taken out. He was the one who was trying to plant before. That leaves Guts with very little choice and very few options. Cyclops finish things off and take yet another round on Bar.
Really nice defense there from Cyclops, and that's 2 rounds in a row where Guts have had an intention of what they want to do. We want to take this ground, we want to clear this, but they can't. They run out of utility, they don't have an effective problem solvent, and then they're like, okay, let's just try and do this shoddy push elsewhere, and Cyclops win those. And that was really well played from Cyclops. Yes, it could have been played better from Guts. In particular, clearing out Pixel proved to be an immense struggle, which is a shame because I was praising Guts for how well they cleared out Cigar. It was Anderson playing aggressively. I believe he had a shield there. They burnt his ADS and they chucked a nade through the drone hole from the Piano Repel and Minibar, took out that player in Cigar. But then they really struggled to destroy the 2 shields that were at Pixel. One was actually in Pixel itself, and one was in the washrooms, as you highlighted early in the round. And there were 2 ADSs there. They did not successfully burn both of them, and they lost most of their utility in the process. They could have just put an EMP on the roof above Pixel, and that would have actually disabled those ADSs. So I'm a bit disappointed from Guts that they didn't have the forethought to do that. Just have Lily rappel up to the roof, make him throw down that EMP and time that with an Ash Charge or a nade to clear out those shields. And that would have definitely given Guts the opening to then push up and take Pixel, but they couldn't do that, so Crazy Papillon's like, I'm just going to push it with the Skeleton Key, see if I can get a kill here. That didn't work, at which point Guts is like, okay, we're definitely not clearing Pixel. Let's just try and see what we can make work. Yura trying to crouch walk up Bar, Shu repelling on the cocktail windows like that. These are just desperate pushes. That is not your intended execute. And that is why Cyclops won the round.
I think this is where you start to see the holes in the decision to bring a Buck instead of a Sophia, because not only were Guts left in a position where they couldn't clear out those shields because they didn't have enough utility, but you also still had an Evil Eye that was present in Piano as well. There's so much that they were unable to get rid of before it came to the part of the round where they'd want to engage. But this time round, they're going to be facing a new challenge as Cyclops, for the first time, have opted to bring a Capcan, which might stunt Guts' push somewhat.
Cheeky stuff. Something we know Cyclops for at the moment, holding on to Cupcake. Still some of those ADSs alive. You'll notice the red light actually goes out once it's been fully burnt. And that's one ADS burnt, both ADSs burnt. The nade goes over, but of course, a cheeky little reinforce from Black Ray nullifies that. So great control from Guts to initiate that bakery, but yeah, Cyclops aren't too phased by that. They just reel it off, and now with all that utility expended, Guts is going to have to expend more utility to make a breach onto site.
Yeah, you can see the position of Gatorada here as he was ready and expecting for there to be members of Guts coming in through the upstairs, as happened before. We mentioned Crazy Papillon was so hugely instrumental, but it's actually looking very lateral for Guts Gaming with 4 players in Bakery and 1 just outside of Small Bake. They're going to drone out the site, and soon they'll find that there's actually only 1 player present. That's Suzu Z. If they can play very aggressively, maybe they'll find themselves in a position like last time, where as Cyclops begin to collapse back onto the site, they just get sprayed down in the Endeavor.
Oh, there's the first pick, but immediately a trade elsewhere. And, well, Guts, they could be looking better, but they're actually going to go for a plant. This is a very unusual plant spot. Black Ray sprays through but the plant goes off because he planted on top of that bench. A very unusual play here for Guts, but it nets them the plant. 3v3 in the post, but Airgator finds his 3rd on the round, going huge. And now it's just Light and Crazy to hold.
It looks like they're waiting for Cyclops to make the move in to actually try and get the disable. They don't want to rush into any kind of altercation that they don't need to take just yet. You've still got to bear in mind that Gatorada's just off the site. That was a very near miss. Make that a kill from Light as he brings down Anakin.
He's defusing!
He gets a second as well.
He's
but
defusing!
the defuse is going on, as you say, so Cyclops, they're going to take the round anyway. A brutal loss there for Guts.
Oh no, Gio, everything went their way, but Ayagator, that cheeky little bastard, manages to pull that out of thin air. Cyclops, I don't know how they managed to make this happen, but it is beautiful to watch a team so cheeky. And wow, a 3 versus 3 made it a 3v2 in the post plants. Goodness gracious me, Guts, it was a nice attack. They went laterally, like you were saying. They decided not to go for map control, which was how they won that bomb site attack previously. They decided to change things up. They cleared out Bakery really early on, and they managed to open up an avenue onto site. They were all prepared to go in for a plant. They planted in off position, got the diffuser down. Wowee, everything's going well. But Cyclops on that retake in a 1v2 clutch. My goodness, that's a rare treat. You don't get to see those every day.
It's sort of the give and take of you plant in a less than orthodox position, but it also makes it more difficult to actually hold it when you're in the post plant because you don't have a direct line of sight onto it if you're taking a more passive position. If you wanted a direct line of sight, you either had to be in the side or right outside the main door to the kitchen, near the bar. To get there in the first place, you would have been called out by Gatorada at the very least, who was playing in and around Harry Potter, so very difficult. Great 2K from Light, wasn't enough. That one's gonna sting.
Oh, it definitely is, and it's a shame because Guts are historically a really good attacking team. Their methodical play style works so well on these attacks, but it absolutely is not working against Cyclops' aggressive and cheeky play style. Okay, Anderson. He got injured somehow. I've got to assume he was just team damaged, so... Well, he's one shot now. That's a shame, but whatever. I digress. If we remember the previous time that Guts attacked this bomb site, they started off trying to look for this top-down clear to try and take control of the top floor from Piano side, and they got scared off because Cyclops had 2 players hard-holding. It was Anderson and Ayagator, with Gatorada downstairs on the pulse to support. Now, it's the exact same setup for Cyclops. What I'm hoping is that Guts don't chicken out this time. Just commit to it, especially with Anderson on low HP. Admittedly, they won't know that. Just commit to this take, and that's like exactly what they're doing.
They've obviously pinged the hole in the floor. Keep an eye on that. Gatorada did get caught out last time. Oh, the C4, so nearly, but Crazy Papillon was ready for it. And that does mean that Gatorada doesn't have that same level of threat as he otherwise would have. So now he's mostly just an information machine for everybody else present in the team. But as I mentioned, he got taken out once he was done on the bottom floor last time, so it could be more difficult for him to rotate back towards the rest of his team should he need to.
I wonder whether Anderson and the rest of Cyclops decided to play more passive instead of hard-holding Piano this time because Anderson was low HP. If so, it may come back to bite them. Euro chokes a lot of damage from that gas. I like the way that Cyclops, they're supporting their upstairs players. Suzu just 1 gas left. That's okay, though, because he's not using it for plant style. He's using it for map control. Retention and Shu on this repel of White Window. That's a big one, and doesn't matter that Anderson's low HP. Crazy Papillon lands the headshot, the trade comes through, and wait, okay, not finished off, and that enables Yura to get the refrag onto Ayagator upstairs.
Crazy Papillon getting rezzed as well as he took enough damage to be downed, and that means the Guts Gaming still have a full 5-member squad while Cyclops are really just flailing around with 3 players. I was trying to think of the appropriate verb, but we'll go with flailing around. Light's cooking a nade to throw in towards the reading doorway, but Gatorada, he's got eyes on it, and he knows those players are there. But there's the drop down, but Gatorada suffers in the process anyway. Now it's just Black Ray remaining. He's a 1 versus 5. He's going to start things off getting a kill onto Lily, but Shu's going in for the plant. He's got to go against the rest of this team and now finds himself in a post-plant situation with so much map destruction. There's so many lines of sight to worry about, and Guts Gaming could, of course, still be playing elsewhere. He walks into the site, but there's too many angles to worry about, and Guts get their revenge after the last round.
I love that. That is what you call commitment from Guts, and it paid off. They didn't get scared off that top floor hold. Admittedly, Cyclops were playing more passive, and that's exactly what Guts like to see. When a team is just holding kind of anchor positions, their problem solving works really well. Even though they didn't necessarily use utility to clear out that top floor take, they just kind of went for the gunfights, pushing up white. I assume Euro pushed up through bar, maybe Freezer, to get that kill onto A-Gator, the 1My player at Cocktail. But yeah, it was really nice to see Guts. And they clawed us back into a winnable situation. I guess you could say even par at a 2-4 deficit in their attacking half. That's nothing to complain too much about. In fact, I'll whip up the stats here for... Cafe defense has sided thus far. It's only been played 3 times. Actually, there's a 72% defense win rate thus far in APAC North, but admittedly that's only 2 plays or 3 plays. So if you look at last season, it was actually, last stage I should say, it was actually 47% win rate. So just about 50-50 over 9 players. So yes, Guts, I think it's fair to say that they lost the first half, that they were subpar on their attacks, but they definitely have a lot of room to make up for it here.
Subpar on their attacks has been something of a trend. When we look back to how these two teams played at the major, it was definitely clear that Cyclops had the edge when it came to attack. And that is maybe a concern that Guts are going to have in the back of their minds now as they head onto the defense, because obviously described the way the bookhold system works earlier on, which is great because it meant that I didn't have to do the thinking. But the point is getting the wins in early in this phase are going to mean so much more. And Guts Gaming, who have been sat at the very top of the overall standings, have had a relatively weak and unprosperous phase 1. Oh, okay. Yura says now we're turning that around. What a beautiful shot onto Black Ray.
That's a good old slap in the face here, Ash player. Nice start there. Holding Pixel, Yura should be able to hold on to this for quite some time, especially now that not only is that the Ash breaching rounds gone, but also those 3 stun grenades, which are really critical for burning these ADSs. Admittedly, Cyclops do have Thatcher on the table, so they could chuck down an EMP on the roof just above. Exactly that. So literally where Gatarado's standing, he's going to do just that. This is what we didn't see from Guts, and I was disappointed. But maybe we'll see it be successful here. The EMP goes out, but there's still a 1My disc and another ADS somewhere. Oh, the ADS is hidden in the middle of the room. Eventually the nade comes out, but it burns a little bit more util here, thanks to some clever util placement from Guts. But now, Cyclops do have that open, and now they can start to push on Euro.
This is the second drone that's been allowed to just come in freely. Looks like they're going to get ready with a nade, but I'm pretty sure there's still a magnet sitting. Oh no, maybe there's not. Goodbye, Yura. Ayagator, he says goodbye, and so far Cyclops are looking so much better at being able to clear this part of the map than Guts Gaming were.
Yeah, great use of the Thatcher there to EMP down that ADS and time that perfectly with the nade. Well played there from Cyclops, clawing back this numbers deficit into a numbers equality. Now 4v4, Suza's got some vertical play. I really like that. A creative way to deal with that Freezer presence. You've got Gatorada on the roof. Anderson, actually just from in Cigar, holding this line with the AK and the 2x sight, does find one. Shu, the newest player to Guts, replacing JJ, a long-time celebrated player here in Japan. Oh, what is that shot? Wow. That is absolutely disgusting. And that's going to trigger the execute here for Cyclops.
Anderson says you don't have to be playing entry to prove that you can shoot. And he's just going to rush on in, probably take the opportunity to plant very shortly after this, as the smokes were used to facilitate that push. Guts are going to be feeling the pressure now as Lily tries to flank around, but he's got to find where this is going down. He gets taken down by Ayagator's 2K, and Cyclops, with a very clean push, take their first attacking round.
As far as I'm aware, Cyclops just went from a 5v5 at the start of the round, getting Black Ray shut down on those windows by a nice shot from Yura, to a 4v5 to a 4v0. That was so clean. Aside from losing their Ash very early, and it goes to show Cyclops were efficient enough with their util that it didn't matter that they lost 3 stun grenades and 2 explosives. Really impressive stuff. In particular, great use of the EMPs to clear out those ADSs, and eventually that not only led to destroying the shield, but also a follow-up nade to take down Yura at Pixel. And Anderton finding 2 very clean shots as well from Cigar. That absolutely opened things up. I also really like the way Cyclops cleared Freezer from underneath. Often you'll see players bring like a buck or something to clear Cocktail from underneath, but very rarely do we see players go underneath specifically to clear Freezer, and I really like that. It was very clever from Cyclops. It shows that they've got really good strategies here on their attack for dealing with static setups, which is, Guts are a much more static team than Cyclops. Cyclops are a much more kind of loose team. They go with the flow, and we saw that on their defense. Guts are a bit more of a static team, and I would have expected Cyclops maybe would struggle with some of that more just stock standard util game of like, you've got to clear this position using this util. But in fact, so far on their attack, they look better than Guts.
And it looks like they're going to be prepared on this attack as well, because naturally, with a Vigil in play, you expect a roam to be the name of the game, but Cyclops have chosen to bring a Jackal. So they are ready and prepared to hunt down any players who may be off-site.
We saw the successful attack onto this bomb site from Guts was indeed a map clear. This Jackal is actually the perfect operator to counter that Vigil, of course. Typically, information gathering would come from the drones, and that's why you bring a Vigil, because it's the direct counter to that. The Jackal was actually a 6-pick from Blackray, in fact, off of the Ash, and I think that was a great read here. Seeing the Vigil, rather, and saying, okay, let's change things up a little bit. Let's bring the Jackal to assist the drones. And there you go. The scan comes through. Crazy Papillon decides, okay, definitely not going to contest that. Drops downstairs. And that's effectively the top floor cleared for Cyclops. They just need these drones to finish up doing the job, but they'll know that the Vigils drop downstairs.
Yeah, perfect move in. Played straight into their hands, and it took no effort at all, really, from Cyclops. Just one cheeky little 6-pick, and that's all it was. And now, all of a sudden, you have all 5 defending players on the bottom floor. Crazy Papillon taking his new position in Bakery. And this is quite anathema to how Cyclops were playing, where they had 1, maybe 2 players on the site at any one time, and everyone else spread out apart.
This is actually a slower map clear for Cyclops than what we saw from Guts. Guts usually cleared the top floor in about 1 minute, but I think Cyclops been a little bit slower despite having that Jackal. But that's okay, they're being thorough, they didn't let anything slip through their fingers, and now this is the critical mid-round that Guts was so good at, opening up that floor and finding picks. This is the critical point here for Cyclops, and Anderton's getting to work on pushing from Garage. He's used his Selma to make an opening. Gator, the player to engage this vertical play, opening up as many holes as possible. It's smart not to just open the hole and then peek it straight away, because that's when the defenders will be aware of it. You open lots of holes, and then they don't know which ones to peek. But yeah. Cyclops, they haven't found any picks as of yet.
I was just say, you can also obviously see him spending a lot of time on the white area around the destructible part, because that's where he's less likely to be shot or C4'd from below. And with a Bandit on the side, you have to expect C4s could be there, but Lily present in Whiskey means that he isn't going to be a risk, but Yura is, grabbing Suzuzi as the first casualty for Cyclops. And there's the Toxic Babe canisters to try and prevent them from coming in through Freezer. This positioning from Yura is quite nice, because it means that he's watching the red stairs, prepared for a flank that he's going to move as well. It's a nice kill from Anaton, and Blackray just cleaning up. Anaton and Blackray working together. This should make it so much easier for Cyclops to move into the site. Light tries to get the shotgun kill, but it takes a couple of attempts. Anaton takes a significant amount of damage as he runs straight in, but that doesn't stop him from bringing down Light. He's going to go down for the plant now, and it's all on Crazy Papillon. He doesn't know where they are, and he can't quite grab these kills, and now he's in the post plant. He goes in for the shot. It's not enough. Cyclops looking dominant on the attack.
Anaton is an absolute god. A 3k on the ace, on the support, smoking off the angles, getting that diffuser down at the same time. Blackray polished off the other 2 kills in the round. Cyclops, man, you don't know how good you got it. Anaton was a player that I've talked about all season long. He really struggled in stage 1, bottom rated in the league, came into the major, and he was a player that I like to highlight, had a lot of good impactful rounds with Monsi and Clash, and he goes to show that give him something with the rifle, give him the AK-12, and he'll get the diffuser down for you. He'll also cop a few kills in the meanwhile. Look at that. Insane KD at the moment, 10 and 4. And Cyclops looking very, very dominant here on Cafe.
I really love this, what Cyclops are doing. They're going for something very aggressive with Amaru, but 6 picking onto Lion as well. Very similar idea to why they brought the Jackal before. You can track operators on the defending side without having to rely upon your drones. It's that extra dimension of information. But given that Guts Gaming also 6 picked over onto Oryx in the hope of making their ability to flank around, do a re-roam higher, they could find that that's very hard to pull off, given what it is the Cyclops have brought for themselves.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to watch Cyclops back in form. They won back-to-back Japan championships. They came into stage 1 of APAC North, and they actually lost a lot of games to their Japan rivals here of Guts. Side note, nice job from Shu, is using the Oryx dash to actually open up the bar. Makes it really hard for attackers to take cover behind those bars. Really smart. Good use of Oryx. You can do the same thing with a shotgun, but it takes about a million years. Oryx is much faster. And yeah, it's so nice seeing Cyclops back in form. And also, not only in form, but in style. Like, what a way that they have made it happen. And the fact that to close out the map, they're like, guys, let's go full, you know, full just Lion, Amaru, do the cheesy ops, and let's do it. First pick 3 rounds in a row goes to Euro, but that hasn't stopped Cyclops winning the last 2 rounds.
He didn't even care. Running away while the E1D was going off, he was like, no, yeet, I'm getting out of here. It was a great first kill as well. Spike Ray has been a really big part. You know, we've given a lot of praise to Anaton and what he's been able to achieve, but I think it's fair to say that Black Ray has also been up there as well. So with him off the board, not just because of the utility, but because of what he can do with the gun, definitely a disappointing start from Cyclops, who wanted to make this quite an aggressive push.
Aggression's the name of the game here, fighting back from a 4v5 for the 3rd round in a row. But the numbers deficit hasn't seemed to be slowing down Cyclops, and Gutterada finally punishes Yura. And the E1D scan to follow up, suppress these defenders. Lily says, okay, getting a bit hot up here, I'm going to go back downstairs. And I feel like the ferocity factor from Cyclops is just scaring Guts into submission. Shu goes down. Suddenly the numbers advantage has flipped on its head, and the E1D to suppress any attempt at a refrag.
Yeah, Shu was ready at the window. His job on the Oryx was to be able to do that wide roam, and it's been completely tarnished. Ayagator, a great shot in through the floor, and Crazy Papillon desperately trying to hold on to the site as Light goes on, I suppose, his own attempt at a re-roam. They know that there are 4 players still remaining. There's the C4 from Crazy Papillon, but it was a desperate attempt with no results. Light creeping around in pillars. He catches 1. That's the Amaru, I believe, and Suzuzi is going to be falling, but he takes some damage. His position has been known to Cyclops. Now they can just begin to surround, but they don't even need to. Anaton just goes straight in with the plant. Gatorada is just outside for support. That's going to make it very hard for any of the defenders to move in through reading and try and get the shot onto the planter. And now they're in the post plant. There's the vertical angle. Ayagator finishing things up with the 2K. And Cyclops have an absolutely insane game.
What a way to come back into form. Cyclops 7-2 over their Japanese rivals. Revenge is sweet when it's served hot, and that's certainly how that game was. Anaton, an absolute monster from start to finish. Huge game for Ayagator in the final round, particularly. All of Cyclops popped off, and Guts scared into submission. Didn't look like it was their day. They didn't play that poorly. I've got to credit Cyclops, just on fire. They love that aggression. They relish in it. And they had Guts' number from day dot.
Oh, absolutely. The only time these two teams have played this map against each other this year was back in Pro League Season 11. It was a 7-4 to Cyclops, and they just decided to shave a little bit off of that. Absolutely insane games, some great performances from both sides, but let's toss it on over to our analysts to see what they have to say.
Thanks so much, Dev. Yes, we are indeed back with a brother and